Welcome to Speak English for You.
Hello and welcome back to Speak English for You. I'm your host. Have you ever, spent just like 3 solid years saving up for a car?
Oh, that is such a universal experience.
Right. You skip vacations, you pack your lunches every day, you just do everything right. And finally, the day comes. You drive it off the lot, the steering is perfectly tight, the leather smells incredible, and you just feel this overwhelming sense of triumph.
You feel like you figured it out. You solved the equation.
Yes, you made it. But then, well, maybe 14 days later, you're sitting in gridlock traffic. You're just staring at someone else's slightly nicer, slightly newer car. And that feeling of triumph is entirely gone.
It just vanishes.
It really does. It gets replaced by this hollow, creeping emptiness. And it makes you wonder, why does human biology put a 2-week expiration date on our happiness?
Honestly, it is arguably the most frustrating design flaw in the human operating system. I mean, we have effectively conquered the physical world, right? We have climate control, instant food delivery, infinite entertainment right in our pockets.
Yeah, we have so much comfort.
But despite all of that, genuine, sustained satisfaction just keeps slipping further away from us.
Which perfectly brings us to the fascinating text we are unpacking for today's deep dive. It's a relatively short, heavily analytical, but also deeply human piece of writing. And it really takes a scalpel to the mechanics of modern dissatisfaction.
It is such a great source. It doesn't just ask why we are unhappy. It dissects the specific cognitive illusions that keep us running toward a finish line that doesn't actually exist.
So the mission of our deep dive today is to unpack all these psychological traps.
Yeah.
We are going to tear down the biology of that 14-day expiration date, look at how we process the lives of others, and most importantly, extract the source's surprisingly simple, totally free method for hacking your own attention to get out of this cycle.
The author does an incredible job of stripping away the mysticism around happiness. It frames it not as this magical state of grace, but as a biological and psychological mechanism that we are basically just chronically misusing.
Let's start with that primary misuse, because the text begins by confronting this foundational myth of modern adulthood.
Right, the formula we are all taught from childhood.
Exactly. The formula we are all handed goes kind of like this. You put in effort, you earn money, you buy material goods, and then you achieve happiness.
The promotion, the designer bag, the new phone, you do the work, so you buy the prize.
Yeah. And the cruelest part of this formula is that, well, for a fleeting moment, it actually works.
It really does. I mean, when you hand over the credit card and walk out with that new phone, you get a massive, undeniable neurochemical spike.
It feels amazing.
It does. But the text introduces a really sobering timeline here. They call it the adaptation period. That thrill has a shelf life of about a week, maybe 2.
Wait, just 2 weeks.
Pretty much. After that, the shine wears off, and the lingering satisfaction is violently overwritten by a new craving for the next upgrade.
Okay, I really want to dig into the mechanics of this, because it's almost like treating a deep hunger with a sugar rush. You get this massive spike of energy when you buy the new car, but the crash is inevitable.
That is a perfect analogy.
But why is the drop-off so steep? Like, if the object hasn't changed, the car still drives beautifully, the phone is still incredibly fast, why does the thrill of something we worked so hard for vanish in just 14 days? It feels like we're being punished.
I know it feels that way, but you aren't being punished. Your brain is just doing its job, and its job is keeping you alive, not keeping you happy.
Oh, wow. That is a distinction.
Yeah. In neurobiology, this is tied to something called a dopamine prediction error. We culturally misunderstand dopamine as the reward chemical.
Yes, I always hear about dopamine hits when we get something good.
Exactly, but it isn't actually about the reward, it's the motivation and anticipation chemical. The spike happens when you are anticipating the new car. The delta, or the gap between your current state and the imagined future state, is what actually generates the thrill.
So the actual acquisition of the object is essentially the death of the thrill.
Precisely. Once you own the car, there is no more anticipation. There is no more gap. The human brain is just an adaptation machine.
Right.
So within 14 days, it fully incorporates that new car into your baseline reality. It's no longer a novel stimulus. It is just the metal box that takes you to the grocery store.
And because the car itself can't generate ongoing novelty, your happiness just resets.
Exactly. It resets to exactly where it was before you bought it. The only difference is that now you have a monthly car payment.
Which is so frustrating. And when that new car smell fades and we realize the formula failed us, we don't just sit in a vacuum and accept it.
No, we immediately look sideways.
Right. We assume we must be doing something wrong. So we look around to see if anyone else has successfully solved the equation. And today, looking around basically means pulling out a piece of glass and scrolling through our feeds.
The transition from internal disappointment to external comparison is practically a reflex for us now. If my reality feels hollow, let me just check the tribe to see where I stand.
And the source paints such a visceral picture of this.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting on your couch on a Tuesday night, right? And you are scrolling past perfect sun-drenched vacations in Greece, perfect culinary masterpieces, perfect couples laughing together.
Like a highlight reel.
Exactly. And the author zeroes in on the physical sensation that accompanies this. It isn't shared joy. It is a literal tightness in your chest. It's this sinking, heavy jealousy.
You are looking at photographic evidence that you are failing at life, or at least that is how your brain interprets the data.
But I really need to challenge this.
Yeah.
Because this is where the text's concept of comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel feels like it clashes with our actual intelligence.
How so?
Well, we are smart people. I logically know as a fact that social media is fake. I know the photo I am looking at took 45 minutes to stage.
Yep.
I know there are filters. I even know the couple in the photo was probably arguing about directions 10 minutes before they smiled for the camera. So if my logical brain possesses all of this contextual data, why does seeing that perfect vacation photo still sting so much? Why does logic fail so spectacularly here?
That is such a good question, and it's because your logic is arriving entirely too late to the party.
Too late?
Yeah. This requires looking at how we process visual information versus how we process complex reasoning. When you see a high-status image like someone looking beautiful on a yacht, that visual data hits your amygdala in milliseconds.
The amygdala is like the emotional center of the brain, right?
Exactly. And for hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, if someone in your tribe had significantly more resources or higher status than you were statistically in danger.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Right, you might get less food or be ostracized. So your emotional brain registers that Instagram photo as an immediate biological threat to your tribal ranking.
So I am experiencing a literal survival panic before my logical brain even boots up to say, hey, it's just a filter.
That is it exactly. The emotional reaction is instantaneous and visceral. The logical correction requires deliberate cognitive effort, and by the time you apply it, the physiological damage is already done.
The stress hormones are already there.
Yep. The cortisol is already in your bloodstream. And the most tragic irony, which the text highlights so brilliantly, is that the people in those photos are experiencing the exact same 14-day dopamine crash that you are.
They're dealing with their own behind-the-scenes chaos.
Absolutely. By measuring your messy, unedited daily existence against their highly curated fiction, you are opting into a psychological distortion. It's a game you will never win.
It is completely a rigged game. And the consequence of losing that game is how we restructure our own future. Because we look at these highlight reels and we internalize this massive deficit.
We feel like we are falling behind.
Right. Which means we convince ourselves that happiness is just a destination we haven't reached yet. We start speaking in these, I will be happy when statements.
Oh, those are so dangerous. I will be happy when I get that promotion. I will be happy when I lose 15 pounds.
I will be happy when I finally buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And the text formally identifies this exhausting phenomenon as the hedonic treadmill.
Yes, the hedonic treadmill.
And I think the traditional metaphor of a treadmill is okay. You run and run, but stay in the exact same place. But reading through the author's breakdown of how this actually feels, it reminds me much more of a software update.
Oh, a software update. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about when you finally buy the newest smartphone. The first day, it feels incredibly fast. The camera is just a revelation.
Right.
But 6 months later, you don't feel a surge of joy every time it opens an app quickly. You just expect it to. That speed is now your new baseline.
I see.
But the moment the phone lags for even 1 second, you feel intense frustration. Getting the upgrade in life, like the promotion or the house, doesn't permanently increase your happiness. It just redefines your baseline functionality.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it.
Yeah.
Because it really highlights the exhaustion of the process. In your software analogy, you are constantly overwriting your own capacity for joy.
You are locked in an endless cycle of forced upgrades just to keep from feeling obsolete.
Exactly. By tying your emotional stability to the next acquisition, you are actively telling yourself that right now is fundamentally unacceptable.
Wow. We are literally practicing the skill of dissatisfaction. We get up every day and train ourselves to locate the flaws in our present moment.
And that is a massive drain on your cognitive energy. To require a continuously escalating stimulus, a nicer car, a bigger house, just to maintain a baseline level of happiness is an incredibly fragile way to construct a life.
Because you are at the mercy of external conditions.
Right. Conditions over which you have very little control.
Okay, let me pause right here and play devil's advocate for a second. Because if this adaptation is baked into our neurobiology, if we are evolutionary machines designed to constantly seek more resources, this sounds unbelievably bleak.
It can definitely feel that way at first.
Like, does stepping off this treadmill mean we have to just give up on ambition? Do we just move to the woods and stop wanting things?
It is a very common reaction to feel that way, but the text is incredibly careful to draw a distinction here. The author states plainly that wanting things is human.
Okay, that is a relief.
Ambition, the drive to create, the desire to improve your life, these are healthy, necessary components of a vibrant life. The source is not telling you to abandon your goals. It is about fundamentally relocating where you believe your fulfillment lives.
Shifting the coordinates of happiness.
Yes. You have to stop treating happiness like it is a physical object waiting for you at the finish line of a 5-year plan. It is not a destination. It is a byproduct of how you engage with the current moment.
And this is where the text pivots from diagnosing the problem to offering a prescription. And it offers these highly grounded, almost startlingly simple examples.
They're beautifully simple.
To combat this massive psychological trap, the source tells us to focus on things like the warmth of a cup of tea, or a text from a friend, or a sunny morning, or the specific sound of rain hitting a window pane.
And notice the common denominator across all of those examples.
They require absolutely zero currency, and they don't require you to achieve a new tribal rank.
Exactly. They are completely immune to the hedonic treadmill because they are entirely decoupled from acquisition.
But here's where it gets really interesting, and also a bit challenging for me. I mean, it sounds lovely, but isn't it a little simplistic?
How do you mean?
Well, if I am stressed about a massive presentation at work, or I am lying awake agonizing over my mortgage, telling me to just enjoy a warm cup of tea feels a bit like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
I completely hear you.
How does the subtle warmth of a ceramic mug realistically compete with the massive visceral high of getting a major promotion or buying a luxury car?
Well, it doesn't compete because it is operating on an entirely different neurochemical pathway. And this is the crux of the author's entire argument. It is not a one-to-one material substitution.
Oh, yeah.
The text is not claiming that a cup of tea is objectively better than a new car. It is talking about cultivating the skill of attention.
The skill of attention. Break that down for me, because I think our listeners would really benefit from understanding this.
Sure. Think about what actually happens when you buy the new car. The reason you feel so incredible on that first drive isn't just the engineering of the vehicle. It's because the sheer novelty of the experience has forced your brain into the present moment.
Oh, I see. You are hyper-aware of the smell of the leather, the sound of the engine.
Exactly. Your cognitive bandwidth is fully 100% occupied by the reality of what is happening right now.
So the physical object essentially hijacked my attention and forced me to be present.
Yes. But you don't actually need to spend $80,000 to achieve that state. The author points out that we usually drink our morning tea while simultaneously mentally rehearsing an argument we plan to have with our boss.
Or while scrolling through the highlight reels on our phone.
Right. We are physically holding the mug, but our attention is entirely projected into a stressful future or a fabricated digital past.
So the tea just tastes like hot water. And the rain is just an inconvenience that is going to ruin my shoes.
Precisely. The shift the source is demanding is a shift in cognitive discipline. It is the active, deliberate practice of pulling your attention away from the imaginary finish line and fully occupying the sensory reality of the present moment.
So when you purposefully bring all of your attention to the warmth of the tea, you are manually generating the exact same state of presence that the new car forced upon you.
You are hacking the system. You are getting the neurochemical benefit of presence without paying the material cost of acquisition. It's an active practice, not just passive resignation.
That is an incredibly empowering reframing. It moves happiness from being an external dependency to an internal capability.
Exactly.
So let's recap our journey today. We started by dismantling the 14-day expiration date on material purchases. We recognize that the brain's prediction error mechanisms mean that acquiring an object will always kill the thrill of anticipation.
And from there, we looked at the evolutionary trap of the social media highlight reel. We learned that our amygdala is hardwired to process curated photos as an immediate threat to our tribal standing.
Which naturally pushes us onto the hedonic treadmill, that exhausting cycle where we constantly update our baseline expectations, forcing ourselves to chase bigger milestones just to stave off the feeling of falling behind.
And ultimately, we arrived at the text's profound antidote. Stepping off the treadmill doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means developing the cognitive discipline to focus our attention on the present moment.
Shifting our mindset from chasing the future to noticing the present.
Right. It demands that we stop treating the present moment as an obstacle to get through and start treating it as the actual destination. And as you go about the rest of your day, perhaps consider this final thought.
I would love to hear it.
If the trick to stepping off the hedonic treadmill is simply paying attention, what is one wonderful, completely normal thing in your life right now that you would be devastated to lose, but that you haven't truly noticed in months?
Oh, wow. That is such a powerful, provocative thought to leave everyone with. And that actually leads perfectly into the actionable advice the source gives us, your homework for today.
Yes, the homework is so important.
Sometime today, stop whatever you are doing for exactly 1 minute. Look around your immediate environment, wherever you are, and find one small thing that is good. Direct all of your cognitive bandwidth toward it.
And resist the urge to look for something profound.
Yes, keep it relentlessly small. It could be the hum of the refrigerator indicating you have food, the light hitting your desk, or even just the feeling of oxygen filling your lungs, or the neurobiological miracle that allows you to comprehend the words we are speaking right now.
Acknowledge it and hold your attention on it.
Because happiness isn't big or loud. It is remarkably quiet, and it is just waiting to be noticed. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Speak English for You, for more lessons and discussions like this one. Until then, keep speaking English for you.